In other words, it's all economic pain for little or no environmental gain. At the same time, we're about to impose, or we might be imposing, this costly global warming policy, the President and Congress are cracking down on domestic production of oil. Last year, in the wake of outrage over $4 gas, President Bush and a Democratic Congress repealed the restrictions on energy leasing in 85% of America's territorial waters. But the Obama administration has reversed the pro-energy momentum from last year, thus far refusing to open any new areas to leasing and even canceling some existing leases. Meanwhile, Congress has introduced bills that would place further restrictions on domestic oil and natural gas drilling, both onshore and offshore. As it is, the U.S. is the only oil-producing nation on Earth that has placed a significant portion of its domestic potential off limits, and Washington is about to make it worse. Gasoline prices are notoriously hard to predict, but it seems like the current respite from high prices is likely a temporary one. If demand comes roaring back while supply is constrained by federal global warming and anti-drilling policies, we could easily see a return to $4 gas or even worse in the summers ahead. So we better hold off on those future vacation plans.
Thanks, Ben. How many times can I say we can't afford this bill? Okay, moving on. WOR James, welcome to the program.
Michael, I just want to say you are the best talk show host on radio, hands down. Nobody says it more real than you. Every day, 6 o'clock, I tune in. I'm telling you, Michael Savage for president. The passion you speak with, the energy, the intelligence you speak with, I mean, it's all there, and I feel like you're just a super powerful speaker, and you just absorb. And people, like that woman said, the vibrations you give the best type of vibration I can get. It's the realest.
Well, I try my best. I mean, I'm not running for any office. I would never go into politics. I think that's for people with a different type of mentality and a different type of morality than I have. I believe that the best and the brightest do not go into politics. The brightest people I know are not politicians. Some of the worst people I've ever met in my life are politicians. Usually they are failures who could not make it in academics or in business. They go into politics because it's an easier road for them.
Savage. Talk 910 KNEW. Here's Michael Savage.
You know, VP Biden has said that the stimulus plan is working. Okay, sure, it's working for his cronies. But unemployment's high, job creation is still low, and the government is spending at a ridiculously, criminal rate. I don't see how the stimulus plan is working. I don't think I'm alone. And joining us now is James Shirk from the Heritage Foundation to analyze the so-called success of the stimulus plan.
Thanks, Michael. We heard from the Vice President that the stimulus bill is working, and working better than they ever hoped it could. Well, that's only the case if you don't care about job creation. If you take a look at what's been happening to the economy, why is unemployment rising so much? Why do economists expect unemployment to continue to rise when we get the new jobs report on Friday? Unemployment is rising not just because layoffs have gone up. They have gone up. They're about 0.3 percentage points higher as a share of total employment than they were when the recession started. But the primary reason unemployment has gone up is because job creation has stalled. Job creation has fallen by 0.8 percentage point. The fact that entrepreneurs and private businesses are not investing in new projects, are not starting up new businesses, the fact that there are simply fewer jobs out there if you don't have a job, accounts for 2/3 of the increase in unemployment since the recession began. And if you take a look at what's happened, job creation has not picked up since the stimulus bill was passed. This was sold to the American people as something that was going to spur job creation. It hasn't done it. In fact, job creation has continued to fall. Job creation is at the lowest rate that we've seen since the government started its survey that measures job creation rates a decade ago.
Why has it failed?
Well, think about what it is. The stimulus bill is basically an $800 billion grab bag of federal spending on different liberal priorities. These are the policies that Democrats have wanted to push for years and years, but they couldn't when they had Republicans in the White House or they didn't control Congress. Now they control all three branches, and now they're just passing them all in one fell swoop and calling it economic stimulus. But if you're a business out there, does the fact that the government is spending hundreds of billions of dollars to give money to state governments to keep state government spending high tell you that your project that you're considering going forward with is likely to succeed? Not really. If you're an entrepreneur who's considering starting up his own small business, does the fact that the government is pouring all this money into what's considered politically acceptable forms of renewable energy research, encourage you to do anything? Well, unless you're the one receiving the grant for the green energy, no. The fact that the government is spending all this money on all these liberal projects doesn't do anything to tell you that, all right, my company can succeed. Because what's been happening is that entrepreneurs and businesses are looking at the environment right now, and they're very concerned. Credit is hard to come by, and they're pulling back. They're seeing consumers pulling back, and they don't want to take any risks. What we need to do is adopt policies in Washington that promote that kind of risk-taking and that entrepreneurial spirit to get people out there investing. Spending lots and lots and lots of money on government programs does nothing to encourage a business owner that now is the right time to invest. If anything, it discourages it. Because people who run businesses are smart. They can look down the road and see that we're going to need much higher taxes to pay for, if nothing else, just the interest payment on this enormous debt that Obama's piling up. They know the taxes are going to have to go up. And who's Washington's favorite target for tax increases? Well, it's businesses, particularly successful businesses. So if you're a businessman and you're looking at taxes going up to pay for all this new spending, you're looking at a government takeover of healthcare, maybe. If you're looking at this car check legislation that would basically force your workplace to become unionized, which might pass. If you're taking a look at cap and trade that's going to make energy much more expensive. Well, all these things are going to raise your cost of doing business and are going to turn, if they pass, what could have been a very profitable business into an unprofitable company that's going to go out of business in a few years. So why take that risk? Why put your good money that you have now into a project that could, because of decisions made in Washington, go down the tubes? So they're holding back. Investment has fallen rather sharply since the recession began. And with that reduced investment, job creation has fallen.
What do they need to do?
In order to get entrepreneurs creating jobs again, in order to get businesses investing again, businesses expanding and hiring, what Washington needs to do is assure them that if they create wealth, if they create successful new businesses, that it's not simply all going to be redistributed away from them because it's once the money's there, Washington wants to take it and give it to a favored interest group. They need to, beyond that, adopt policies that encourage businesses, encourage entrepreneurs to go out and create wealth and to take risks. As a candidate, President Obama had a very good idea along these lines. He proposed that Washington should get rid of the tax on capital gains on successful business startups, so that when a business goes public for the first time, the people who own the business would not owe any capital gains tax on that. And that's a great idea because most new businesses fail. Where the people who invest money in new businesses get their money from is they invest in a whole lot of companies. Most of them fail. Some of them just break even. But every 1 in 10 or so are tremendously successful and make enough money to cover all the other losses. Well, if you take away the taxes on those new business startups that succeed, you create the rewards from getting that one business, that one hit, even greater, and that will cover even more failures. And so venture capitalists and entrepreneurs are going to be willing to risk their money on projects that they wouldn't have been willing to risk it on before. Take that chance because the rewards from a successful business startup are that much greater. Those are the kinds of policies that would encourage job creation, that would get the government out of the way, that would stop the government from discouraging entrepreneurs from creating wealth. Now, as a candidate, Obama proposed this. As president, he's done nothing to advance it. But as long as Washington just keeps saying, we're going to spend, we're going to spend, we're going to spend, our plan for helping the economy recover is we're going to spend, it's not going to help. The unemployment insurance, another 92,000 more people are on the unemployment insurance rolls this past week than the week before. 6.2 million Americans are on unemployment insurance. Job creation is at the lowest rate we've seen since the government started measuring these statistics a decade ago. Unemployment is still high, and the new unemployment report is almost certain to show higher unemployment. We saw from a report on Wednesday that a survey of private sector employment shows that we've probably lost another 250,000 jobs. The stimulus bill is not working. It's not stimulating because it's not addressing the reason unemployment's going up.
Well, why is unemployment going up then?
Unemployment is rising because job creation is falling, because businesses are not investing, because entrepreneurs are not taking risks and starting new businesses. Anything that doesn't address that, anything that's simply spending money on liberal priorities, that doesn't encourage entrepreneurs to take risks and create wealth, is not going to get our economy back on its feet and is not going to help. It might be politically popular. It might allow the vice president or the president to hold press conferences to talk about how much money they've spent and what they've spent it on. But spending money doesn't guarantee results, and the stimulus so far has failed.
James Shirk, thanks for the report, and thanks for being on the Savage Nation.
Thanks for having me on.
You know, every time Joe Biden gets in front of a microphone, he seems to put his foot in his mouth. Now he seems to be engaging in pure fantasy. Now he claims that Barack Obama has created 1 million jobs. Where? Listen to this nonsense.
200 days ago, President Obama signed into law the third piece of our economic plan, the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. And today, there's a growing consensus. The Recovery Act is, in fact, working. We don't just take my word for it. Analysts from Moody's to IHS Global Insight to the Economic Policy Institute and others all estimate the Recovery Act has created or saved between 500,000 and 750,000 jobs. Matter of fact, some notable economists suggest the number is as high as 1 million.